Hi, everybody. This is forcibly removed from the barracks room there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, because he was a whistleblower. He wasn't any whistleblower. He was the whistleblower, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier, Richard Halliday, a real, absolutely amazing and real hero. Which, of course, in the letter right behind me, you can see right there, uh, you know, President Trump acknowledged all of that on just 4 days. Well, 4 days after he took the oath, it was in the line of duty designation, which is huge. And he didn't have to do it because we already had the designation of death on April 24th, 2024, because of the overwhelming amount of evidence, which doesn't include our son's body. We have not received that back. This is the vicious negotiations for the repatriation of our son's remains, and we're working very, very hard to make that happen. And he was forcibly taken because of his courage and his stand against the trafficking, the worst type of crimes against children on a mass scale, and all of the other trafficking, including fuel. Fuel was a biggie. Of course, the weapons and ammunition, truckloads, and you just saw it happen not too long ago, just recently, an 18-wheeler full of weapons and ammunition and cash, a lot of cash, tried to cross the border and was caught and was so bold, saying, "The cartel, you better let me go. The cartel's coming and going to take this truck." It just shows that the cartel is infiltrated into our agencies, both in the United States and in Mexico. So I'm making sure that everything is working here. The website, the Facebook site has been very, very busy, and because of that, we've been getting lots of information because our hard work is paying off. We have earned a lot of people's trust, and we keep working to earn more people's trust. So a lot of people have been sending us information, documents, and if we don't get through them as quickly or don't mention them, please be very, very patient, because we're working very hard. You can see it's after 2 a.m. in the morning, and we're working very, very hard, not only to go through these documents, to understand what the documents have to say, the videos, the screenshots, the testimonies, but also to identify the crimes and then document those crimes and then file them. So we have to produce letters that are um, not emotional, that are professional, and then we have to file them, and we have to know where to file them. And some need to be faxed, some need to be filed online, some need to be emailed, some need to be put in professional letter format and sent through the mail. Certified, always certified. Um, and so, we've also paid for like overnight, and we find that the certified mail is is adequate is good, because sometimes the overnight mail that you track, it doesn't make it there like you think, because it's going it doesn't make it there. I mean, it makes it there, but not as fast. The certified mail works really well, just as fast, I think, just as fast, and cost a fraction of the amount. So, so we've been not only getting on here and sharing all the information with you, like, we're the media. We're the media. You have to come to Find Richard Halliday Facebook to get the truth, to get these stories that are just jaw dropping stories. And we present them to you. But not only are we doing that, but we're filing. You have to know we're filing, and we're having to keep up with all of those filings. And I want to make that very, very clear, because we are absolutely doing something besides just reporting on all of this. And because if you file it, it's on record, and that is what drives the agencies to do what what they were meant to do, to honor their oath. And it's been very revealing that our agencies have been infiltrated, and they haven't been honoring their oath. Matter of fact, they've been traitors, and and that includes the military, right? That includes the Department of Justice. That includes the FBI and the CIA, law enforcement, because the rot just uh, was never cleaned up. It was never cleaned up, because we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And so um, sometimes, and I think I can speak for our family, we just trusted them. We just trusted them to do the right thing and to honor their oath. We knew that there was some corruption, but we did not realize the level, the the takeover of our country, really, the takeover of our country. And so we're making up for that time. And so we appreciate everybody else that is doing just that, sharing our information, um, really looking into all the investigations that are looking into and identifying the crime. And there's so many. I mean, something is really remarkable happening lately. The people are realizing that our taxpayer money is not giving us um, what uh, what they are meant to give us, right? The investigations are being blocked and covered up and delayed, and people are being gagged, and um, evidence is being tampered with, timestamps are being tampered with, things aren't being documented like they're supposed to. The oversight has been infiltrated, so even the oversight is not working. And so the people are fed up, and they are taking the investigations in their own hand. And thank God for social media to share all that information. So that's what's happening here. And I have some really jaw dropping information. And I just want to let you know that when they took our son's life on Fort Bliss in the arms room there, in his building, they stole his body off of Fort Bliss. That means that this was institutionally sanctioned, okay? Because they had to take his body, and they moved it through and profited. All evidence indicates that they profited off of his body. That there's fraud in the VA IDES Pablo, the veterans benefits, the death benefits, that there is fraud going on. There is fraud going on in the funeral home sector in El Paso, the purchase, Arleano Fierro's name's in there. So Purchase Fierro, Arliano, Caron, um, Monopoly. I think it's like this little family that has this monopoly in the funeral home sector there that are they're transnational. They have funeral homes there in Juarez and also in El Paso. They cross over all the time. They have other funeral. It's huge. It's a huge business. They make loads of money flesh peddling and giving families, charging them, but giving them crushed construction material in urns, right? In urns. But their crematoriums are narco crematoriums. They are piling bodies up. One of them, Plenitude Crematorium, where evidence indicates our son's partial remains were disposed of. 400 over 400 bodies just by walking in there in that one time. And that night, they were burning their furnace all night long. So they were destroying evidence, which is so criminal. And those people live in El Paso. The Purchase Arliano Caron family, they live in El Paso, and they are absolutely with this El Paso Mormon faction cartel network. Okay, trafficking network. They are absolutely with that. Um, it, it, it's all documented now. We've done the hard work of the investigation, and more information is coming out connecting Nadal Bayim, the Palestinian arms dealer that declared our son dead in a Dollar General, caught on CCTV footage on October 26, 2020. And we were told that he was just a nobody. We, of course, knew that they were lying to us, so we kept investigating and we found out who he was. We should have known that day because we turned in everything to the FBI. The FBI absolutely knew who he was. The command that we turned everything into knew who he was. The CID absolutely knew who he was. A Palestinian arms dealer with terroristic threats, criminal record, um, uh, bidding to sell El Paso Police Department $3 million worth of arms, multiple car dealerships with a very interesting partner, very interesting connections, uh, and of course, him himself being the father in law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado. Uh, Sitting right there in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, our son's operational command. Not a plane flew around there that office didn't know. I mean, all the way out to San Diego. That's the kind of radar technology that the Patriot missiles with all of their drones, they know what's flying around. They knew absolutely Zorro Ranch and Jeffrey Epstein and all the planes that, especially landing at Santa Teresa International Jetport right there on the border, and having a straight flight across White Sands Missile Range, protected and monitored airspace, restricted, protected airspace that went right into Zorro Ranch. He had his own landing strip, his own hangar, house there. The pilot was given a plot of land there, and the pilot's daughter was financed by Jeffrey Epstein and became a United States Army officer stationed at Fort Huachuca also signal. That's the signal. They know everything that's going on in the air there. Also, asymmetric warfare group there. Um, so that's military intelligence. And Jeffrey Epstein's pilot's daughter was, her name's Brooke, or Brooke, was there stationed as an officer right there with Frantzve, right? Frantzve, Lori Frantzve, and also our casualty affairs officer, who was an asymmetric warfare officer, wrote a book published for Army deception, right? And he was caught. His name is Joshua Lyons, Lieutenant Colonel Joshua Lyons. At that time, he got promoted, um, and he was published in using deception, and he was caught. We caught him using asymmetric warfare tactics uh, against us, against our family, to obstruct justice, to mislead us. Horrible, horrible. He's a traitor. He's a traitor, using his training to thwart the search and the answers to a U.S. Army soldier, our son, his life was taken from him right there on Fort Bliss, stolen, trafficked, dismembered. Evidence indicates organs taken from him, harvested from him, cashed in on his body. This is, and then disposed of at Plenitude Crematorium, owned by the Purchase Arellano Caron family, who live and work and have tons of businesses in El Paso, Texas, and are being protected by this protection racket called the El Paso Mormon Faction Cartel, in alliance with the Mexican cartel, also the Iranian faction, the Chinese faction. And, today we have, and I just published it. I published this here, which is the documents, the legal documents, and I did a lot yesterday. We have so much that we're going through, but this is really, um, which, the federal court then confirms that Epstein was a CIA asset, trafficking, funding Iran-Contra. This is the Palestinian connection. And I think I played yesterday, and I can play it today too. President Trump absolutely interchanging Iran with Palestine. Okay, so everybody that says, "Oh, Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad," they're right. Okay, he had the Mossad connection too. He was playing all sides. He was playing all sides because he was working with Khashoggi in the Iran-Contra. And this is what the documents that absolutely confirm that. This is not something that we're making up. This is absolutely established facts that we are putting together to show you that he was playing all sides, and he was absolutely trafficking drugs to buy weapons. So traffic, make some money, buy weapons, pay people off, and everything like that. And then that was being used politically to give to the Contras. But the Mexican cartels decided, "Ooh, we want to keep some of these weapons," and then they got caught, and that's when the whole scandal happened. But yeah, this was all politics for of course, they want to election interference. This whole, oh, we never do election interference is such baloney, y'all. They are always engaged in election interference. And that's why we need to protect it so much, because they are always engaged in election interference because they want to control not only policy, but they want to control the investigation in cases in their criminal conduct, right? In their contract fraud, in their Ponzi schemes, in their trafficking, in the worst type of crimes against children, their sick, demented behavior. They, want to control that, and they absolutely push demented behavior, because if they can get people to act illegally, they can blackmail them. And that's why in the barracks, that's why our military installations were infiltrated, and in a very, very bad way. They were bringing in 14-year-old girls to party, to live in the barracks, to be misused and filmed. And then, of course, the drugs and all kinds of other sex cult stuff. And the weapons, there were weapons flush all over Fort Bliss. We were told that by the general. He let that out of the bag. And so we know that even during the shutdown, that they were bringing in girls. And we know that they were videotaping everything and airdropping it. And they would, so our troops were being targeted, okay? Our troops were being targeted and abused, and it was just a terrible thing to compromise them so that none of them would be able to become whistleblowers. And that's why Richard is just such a hero, because he wouldn't let them compromise him. He has a stellar record, and the very people that have written lies about him in the media were the ones targeting him when he was alive, trying to compromise him, because we all know that these media individuals are not innocent people. They're not journalists, right? They're not journalists. Most of them are not journalists. They are absolutely paid political attack dogs or political manipulators of stories, because they're trying to engage in election interference all the time to control the policies, but not only just the policies, but the cases. And every article in a newspaper can be used in a court of law as evidence, as reliable information. And so that's why the media has been infiltrated and controlled, because if you can control the media, you can control justice. Okay, you can control justice, and that's why you see such rotten stories out there, right? Just the and rotten meaning some of them can read really nice, but they are not telling the whole story, and they twist and turn and they manipulate. And so that's what I mean, that they are uh, rotten, because they're engaged in false witness. That's what they're a false witness. You can say, oh, look at my wife. She left me. She took all the money. but he doesn't say he spent it all in gambling, and he was beating her, and she had to take the money to pay off the debts, otherwise they would have come after the children, right, and threaten the children. He didn't say that, right? He just said, "Oh, look at my wife, she left me and took all the money." So this is what I'm saying. They manipulate the story, they manipulate the truth, and they present um, a false witness. And so this court case is is with the bank, is with the bank, and I don't know if you know this, but uh, President Trump is suing this bank because this very bank, and I should start at the bottom, where Trump has a $5 billion lawsuit against JP Morgan Chase. And people could say, oh gosh, he's being greedy or this and that. But what they did is they debanked him, right? They debanked him for reputational blacklists, or for, legal or regulatory risk, right? Um, but at the same time, for years and years and years, they had no problem with Jeffrey Epstein, no problem at all. Even after Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of the worst type of crimes against children, um, JP Morgan didn't have any problem. Matter of fact, JP Morgan Chase allowed Jeffrey Epstein to infiltrate inside their own bank. So the bank that protected pedophiles and arms dealers is the same one, and you have to understand this. Jeffrey Epstein was an arms dealer, okay? He was engaged in Iran-Contra, okay? The drug trafficking money turned into uh, arms dealing, okay? And then it got worse. It became human trafficking along with it. So this was really about protecting the trafficking network. And it is, if you haven't read through this, you really need to, because it really confirms that he was part of Iran-Contra, which um, we already had reported on just recently, a few weeks back, with Khashoggi. So he absolutely was part of this group. And don't forget, Iran-Contra, you can say Palestinian, because through Iran, the Palestinians were getting arms. Okay, they were getting arms, they were getting weapons. And so Jeffrey Epstein was arming both sides. The United States was arming Israel, and Jeffrey Epstein, through all of his stuff, was through Iran-Contra and all of this, was arming the Palestinians. So it's so, oh man. And of course we have Nadal Baim being the Palestinian arms dealer with these cars that now we know from the recent raids in Jacksonville, Florida, that they were trafficking through these car exports, um, filling the cars with, drugs and weapons and money, of course, and maybe even human trafficking through that. And we know that there was all this fuel theft. Fuel theft is absolutely included in all of this. And President Trump has really addressed that, trying to stop the fuel theft. And it wasn't 5 days after El Mencho was captured and lost his life, and the logbooks and ledgers were gathered by the CIA. This was absolutely a CIA um, led operation with the Mexican special forces that President Trump um, did go to war with Iran. So there must be, in our, because if you've been watching President Trump, he did not want to go to war with Iran. Um, and he was always against it for years and years and years and years, if you've kept up with him. And so for him to do this 5 days after he received the ledgers, and we know through the Dominican Republic that they were selling the visas, right? That they were doing, giving away all these visas and to Iranians to get very close to our border to get into our country, and that goes for other people also. So there's a lot more to this that we don't fully understand and know, but we understand that this pipeline, which includes a huge economy of illegal activity and the worst type of crimes, from human flesh eating, human flesh peddling, um, human trafficking, uh, all the money, all the fuel, all the drugs, all the weapons, everything, just hell on earth, right? Just an economy of hell on earth, right? Um, that this pipeline, absolutely the epicenter is from El Paso to Santa Fe. El Paso to Santa Fe, that area, White Sands Missile Range to Zorro Ranch. And of course, the pipeline reaches south to Brazil to the John of God baby farms, which he was just given hundreds and hundreds of years in prison just recently, just a few days ago. John of God, who was, promoted by um, Oprah, and Oprah absolutely knew Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, real Chicago alliance there with Barack Obama and William Sanders, which is Beto O'Rourke's father, and with the Pritzkers of Chicago. This is all established. I'm not, dreaming anything. This, with their houses being in Santa Fe and the laboratory there and the big Ponzi scheme for eternal life to digitize it so that, their billions they could take with them. It is just crazy, dramatic stuff. But we know that that sick, very sick pipeline was protected by the El Paso Mormon faction cartel in alliance with the Mexican cartels. Uh, and they're the ones, this is all connected to who took our son's life. And it was, you know, when we went there in 2020 and we got Nadal Baim's confession on CCTV footage, and we turned that in along with the witness who also went on video to give her testimony, and we turned that in to the authorities. They must have just been their tummies hurt them, and they needed to visit the bathroom. Because the next thing we knew, we were getting phone calls that they were going to have a task force find Richard Halliday. So they were absolutely lying to us. They were lying to our faces. They knew that our son's life had been taken and trafficked, but they were trying to cover it up with lies. And the first meeting, they because it was lies and they knew it was lies, the army showed up. And this is a meeting with over 15 agencies. We're talking ATF. ATF doesn't go to those meetings very often. Um, the Interpol, Mexican government, Mexican military. We're talking about DEA and DOG and J and CID and FBI and the sheriffs and the marshals and over 15 agencies for this task force, right? And we knew that they were playing a game with us, and we knew it was very, very serious because there's no other case. We're up to like 28 different agencies now that are involved in our son's case. There's no other case in American history, I think world history, that is like that. Okay, this is a really, really big deal, and I wish it wasn't. I wish I had my son, right? But it's a very, very big deal, and it is international, and it absolutely, Richard was the whistleblower that unraveled, uh, uh, just exposed this entire Jeffrey Epstein um, scheme from trafficking to everything else that he was involved in the spying. And, all of the politics that had compromised many of our politicians and, of course, many of our generals, um, world leaders. You saw that with the former Prince of England, Andrew, totally compromised, his ex wife, totally compromised. So you're talking about um, royalty here, that have been compromised. Um, and of course, Fort Huachuca, the talk is out that Erika, Frantzve, Kirk knew Jeffrey Epstein. Of course she did. Of course she did. Is there a doubt in anyone's mind? This is a family that's who they went to. That was their goal, is to rub shoulders with the billionaires, right? With the billionaires. That was their goal. And to control, to take control, to infiltrate. Um, I just, it's there's not a doubt in my mind. When she went to New York, being at Fort Huachuca, just being in Arizona, right? And being in the circles that she is in, with the money that she has had. I mean, look, what her family was into lottery tickets and slot machines, and Jeffrey Epstein wins. um, it's Zorro Trust wins $80 million Powerball. Come on, of course they knew each other. There's not a doubt. And with the Romanian Angels, and people were like, oh, Vlad, who's Vlad? The Dracula, right? That the royal family claims to be the relatives of Vlad. I've been sent that too. Um, but there's something more sinister. Well, this whole thing is evil, right? It's as evil as it's as evil as you can get. It just spirals downward and downward every day. But there's another sinister point here, and that is the software programs that our intelligence agencies get a hold of. They use taxpayer money to develop these programs, these softwares. And Mossad, it was Maxwell, and I'm doing this from heart. So if I make a mistake, please just correct me, right? Just correct me. But Ghislaine Maxwell. She, matter of fact, I'll turn this off. You can read it for yourself. But Ghislaine Maxwell, her father, of course, was Mossad, and he had a software. And that software then kind of was inherited then. And Jeffrey Epstein was using it, and he was using it to track vulnerable children, and then also politicians or individuals that he wanted to track to blackmail. That's so like, wow. So you could track around the world where vulnerable children are and target them. This is how evil, right? This is how evil this group is. So, and the more and more information that comes out about Erika Kirk, and she's just a slithering snake, and she's in, right? She made it in. They invited her in a long time ago. And even Charlie Kirk let her in. Okay, let her in to the control of TPUSA. And so she's in. And if she wants to be in, President Trump just nominated her, selected her to be really in. And he put her, of course, where Charlie Kirk was, but it's a very interesting place since President Trump in his second administration, because Colorado Springs is El Paso County, Colorado. Okay, it's El Paso County, Colorado. Right, where the Air Force Academy is, uh, and the VA up there, and other Air Force bases up there. They are under so many active and ongoing investigations. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. The Air Force Academy, and of course, if they're going to target our service members at Fort Bliss, they're really going to target them at the Air Force Academy. And so the Air Force Academy is under active investigations, many of them. And so, and so is Colorado, and so is the whole El Paso County, Colorado. So to put her there is to put her under investigation. And that is something everybody needs to know. And it's going to be interesting because it's by many different agencies. So we'll see how that all, what they find out, because she's under investigation now. So, are they going to hide all of her Romanian Angel connections, or, well, it was her business, right? Are they going to hide her connections with Jeffrey Epstein? Are they going to, because with this whole thing that's being revealed right now, but they have to look into her, and everybody that is concerned about this is watching. And that is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We're demanding an investigation. And that's why I put that out there. I'm demanding an investigation into Erika Kirk, because that Fort Huachuca, that all of her connections are directly connected to the group, the criminal group, the Mormon faction cartel, the El Paso Mormon in El Paso, Texas. Okay. But the El Paso Mormon faction is huge. It reaches everywhere. Okay, it reaches everywhere, because it's international, like Jeffrey Epstein, right? And the same thing with Nadal Baim. He was international. He just got caught in August of 2024 buying a one-way ticket to Kuwait, right? Right there on the edge of Iran. So, yeah, this is international, and that El Paso Mormon faction cartel operates internationally. Um, that's why they have this huge control over Mexico and are so infiltrated into our country. Because they're in alliance with the Mexican cartel to give intelligence. They give them access to our intelligence databases, to visas, to operate businesses without any scrutiny, without having to get any licenses or permits or, like a liquor license or whatever. Oh, no need for them. No need for them. No need to pay taxes. That's why the ones, even Nadal Baim, he's um, under tax violation, you know, um, and absolutely there's no alleging there. He's violated taxes. So they are connected to what happened to our son, and also in the vicious negotiation for the repatriation of our son's remains. So that's why this is all very, very important to us. Um, Let me see. Thank you, Laura, for translating everything into Spanish. God bless you for that. Okay. Have you tried contacting Candace Owens? Um, I can tell you this, that sometimes it's better to just do your thing, right? To sometimes all that can be a distraction. And we are so overwhelmed with evidence or with leads, right? And all of the research that we have to do. In order to get to the truth, I don't have to collaborate with anybody. We are just looking for the truth. And there's no distraction on, she has a different focus, one of the focuses that she did that I was just like, yes, was the mass shooting, because our son's case is totally intertwined with the Walmart mass shooting of August 3rd, 2019. And when she was like, something's weird about these mass shootings, I was like, yes, yes. But uh and I know that President Trump was the target for that, okay, was the target. So the things that we know give us maybe some other different outlooks and directions than what she knows for sure, and what she's going for in order to get accountability for the death of Charlie Kirk. So our aim is, we want our son's remains and accountability for the murder of Richard Halliday, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier. So I wouldn't be again, I mean, if she ever reached out, um, God bless her for all what she's going through and what she's done. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. And we've learned so much from her. At the same time, there's just no room for distractions. We have to stay very focused in what we're doing, because we're about to launch our legal cases. Um, and they're going to be epic, epic. And it's, gosh. So there's just no, there's only so much time in the day. And so I hope that's a good explanation for that. But thank you, Lindsay, for asking. And I'm a big fan of hers for doing what she does. And she just has that gift of language and expression, and of course, investigation. So, I'm rooting for her all the way, because I'll tell you this, her getting accountability for Charlie Kirk will get accountability for Richard, because it's the same El Paso Mormon faction that is responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, that is responsible for our son Richard Halliday, and responsible for the attempted life attempts on President Trump and the election interference. Okay. The bullet whizzing by his head and, well, getting his head. I don't think anyone forgets that when that happens to you. Okay. No, I don't think anybody really forgets that. I don't think President Trump has forgotten that. And we know by investigating those attempts that they are absolutely connected to these same people. And we know that um, it's because, and it's very clear that what happened to Charlie Kirk is all connected to the same people that are protecting and engaging with the Jeffrey Epstein pipeline, trafficking pipeline, and the Ponzi schemes, the contracts, and everything that goes with it. So, yeah, they are all connected. And that should make us feel, you know, how can I say, empowered to establish justice, because it's not like um, it, it's not like, oh, just random. No, this is an organized criminal cartel that that are up to no good, and we know who they are, and they're easy to spot now, um, and their connections. So yeah, that empowers us to get justice when you know who they are, right? I hope that helps. Um, real team, please. I don't know who that is. And the number, I don't know. Okay. Wichita Alert. I don't know what this person's trying to do. NASA Alert. System lots underneath illegal in critical condition alert. NASA Alert. They are commies. Yes, they sure do. Okay. No, they definitely are not. And yes, paid for politics. Yes. Thank you, Emily. Oh, yes, they do. Thank you, Emily. I'm following you. I have to go to sleep. It is very late. Oh, I know. It's so late, no doubt. Thank you so much for coming on. Sweet dreams. God's blessing. Oh, Donna, thank you so much. Hello. I get to hear a few minutes tonight. I love you. I love you too, Donna. Okay. So, thank you, everybody, so much for coming on so late. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Can't help it. And I'll try to get on earlier. I was trying to come on during the day, but life happens. So, God bless you. I'll keep trying. And God